Hey, everybody, and welcome to our Mindset Monday? Mindset Tuesday? It's a good thing we didn't do it yesterday. So we're going to continue the lesson that we've been working on, which is about learning. We covered the main truths of the lesson last time, which is how you learn different things and what things you have to have in order to learn effectively. So today we're going to continue that by talking about learning new skills. What kind of things do we have to do to be able to learn new skills, and why is it important to learn new skills? So we're going to go back through those same truths because they're going to be really integral to learning about how to acquire these skills. Okay. First thing is the main things that we said that efficient learning can't take place without four specific things that you have to have. First is a resource for learning, whether that's teachers, whether that's a manual, YouTube videos, anything. You have to have a resource, otherwise you might just it doesn't help you to learn efficiently. A motivating force that drives you to learn a new skill, whatever it happens to be, whether it's just getting better or doing it for survival. You need a supportive environment that allows you to make mistakes and learn from them. And a sense of success, a sense of knowing when you're doing things right. We used a lot of references from our Spider-Man videos from last time. Feel free to check that out via YouTube. Fit perfectly with the lesson, and Spider-Man's awesome. So the big thing with this is now that we're talking about skills, it's really important to understand what differentiates skills from just regular learning, regular knowledge. A skill is a particular ability that one has to do something. Skills are a doing thing. It's about an action. So learning a language, learning to speak to somebody else, cooking, playing sports, music, programming, literally anything that you figure is a skill that you do, that's what we're talking about here. And yeah, it's what you do, not necessarily what you just know. I know all sorts of stuff about Carnatic music and Indian music from my studies in college. I can't sit here and begin to play half of the instruments that we learned about. I have no idea what I would do. If you hand me a tabla, I can pat it like bongos. I have no idea how to play it. So that's the difference between knowledge and the skill itself. Okay, so I want you to think I'm going to give you a couple questions. I want you to think of these and how they relate to a skill that you want to learn. What kind of skills are you learning in school this year? You know, not just from my class, but think of all the other classes. What classes are really giving you these good hardline skills, and what classes are giving you the knowledge? Let's think about that. All right. Resources for learning. When we're talking about skills, those are teachers, models, coaches, instruction manuals, things that will help you learn. This is pretty self-explanatory. We don't have a whole lot of stuff in here, but I really want to emphasize the fact that you need quality resources to use to teach you. Skills are lifelong things. It's things that you will continue to practice constantly and refine and do better. And so if you're looking for a resource for learning and it's not a really good resource, you don't want to learn something wrong and then have to relearn it later on. So I always look at getting the best quality resources that you possibly can. YouTube videos can have some good things. They can have some not so good things. I can't tell you the garbage that I see on how to sing videos that are on YouTube. Just be careful. So search out quality resources as best you can. Motivation. Yeah, it comes in all forms. This is a really big thing here. Skill acquisition, as seen in most studies, is motivated by these four things right here. The most basic is the need for survival. This is where a lot of people learn to cook. This is where a lot of people learn to do new languages. I will tell you, I have always hated cooking my entire life. I learned to cook when I got married and when I went home because nobody else would do it for me. That's a need for survival. You need to improve in order to compete. Let's say you're playing sports. Let's say you're trying to get the best grade in a class, or trying to get just a really good grade in a class. That's where you start learning to study better. That's where you start learning new sports, new skills, conditioning your body, strength training, any of that kind of stuff. What drives us is our ability to stay with other people that we might know. Okay. A desire to improve for self-gratification. This is really important. This is where we look at Maslow's hierarchy, self-actualization, that top tier, if you remember from a previous lesson. This is where we start realizing how good we can be. So that's where learning a new hobby, learning a new instrument, maybe learning a third or fourth language that you just are really curious about. You don't typically see this in younger adults. You typically see this in people who are retired and want to go back into a music program, or back into maybe an art thing or something like that. But this is a really good one to get to. This is a good motivating factor in doing all sorts of things, and not one that you have to wait to survive or anything like that. And then a need to develop a skill as a prerequisite to another. Prerequisite is something you need before you can do something else. For example, right now you are in 6th, 7th, or 8th grade math. You have to complete that course to go on to the next grade of math. Okay, that's a prerequisite. So let's say somebody wants to be a video game designer. Or somebody wants to write music or compose music or be a professional musician. Okay, one of the prerequisite skills you will need is probably needing to program. If you're doing computer design, or if you're doing software design, video game programming, you'll have to learn to read music if you're going to be a professional musician. And that's not necessarily true for all types of musicians. There's some that get by without knowing to read music. But this is a skill that will really, really help in that. And so, again, improve in order to compete, or as a prerequisite skill. So what motivates you to develop the skill that you practice most? Is it any of these? Is it maybe a different one that we haven't covered here? What helps you? A supportive environment. Again, we've talked about this already. This is a place where you can practice your skill with other learners. It's important to find a safe, supportive environment for you that allows you to make mistakes, that allows you to mess up, or to share something that's not like a world-class, amazing product, but something that you're proud of. That could be going to a gym to exercise, to learn to box, or do martial arts, a music or dance studio, a cooking class, something that is an environment where you've got an instructor that will help you, or maybe not just an instructor that will help you, maybe friends that are better that can act as models. A place with native speakers of whatever language you want to speak. I know a lot of us, my 8th grade crew, you guys are in Spanish class right now. I'm probably loving it. You don't have a whole lot of native Spanish speakers around necessarily that you can speak with, except maybe a couple in our classes. But if you can find some of those native speakers, talk with them. Use conversational language. You don't have to be masters at Spanish. Nobody's going to be writing a 400-page dissertation on something in Spanish. But a lot of us know the basics, even if you haven't been in a Spanish class. Hola, ¿cómo estás? Practice speaking. Safe online forums, that's a good place for you to look up. I emphasize safe because there's a lot of forums with some creeps out there. The internet is not the safest place to necessarily go and seek out things like that. But I will tell you, it is a place that if you find people who are your same age, who are looking at developing a skill, and who are dedicated to that, and you find a forum that has really good guidelines that keep people on topic and people aren't getting rude or anything like that, these can actually be pretty helpful. I don't know, in my experience, I learned to draw and to become kind of an animator and a comic book artist actually from doing this back in high school and middle school when I was your age. And then hangout spots with friends. If you like to jam with your friends, if you like to practice a hobby with your friends, that's one of the best, most supportive environments out there for people. So, where do you go to practice your skill, whatever it happens to be? If you're in sports, if you like to cook, if you like to play music with your friends, where do you go? Is that a good supportive environment? Does it help? Okay. Last one is the sense of success, self-efficacy. Again, self-efficacy is how well you perceive yourself to be successful at the skill. Just remember, skills are lifelong practices. They're the things that you're going to be working on the rest of your life, even professionals. Michael Phelps still swims 10 hours a day. He's got the most gold medals for swimmers in world history. And he still swims 10 hours a day and still gets in that gym every single day because he thinks he can improve. The world's greatest still work tirelessly at improving these skills, and you have your whole life ahead of you to do that. So don't think that you have to be world-class, amazing right now, this minute. Okay? Take small steps towards your goal. Find something that challenges you that you know you can do with just a little practice. That's the best way to find that zone of proximal development that we've talked about before, that space where you're going to learn the most by challenging yourself, by helping your brain to grow and develop. Right? So I want you to think about what you can do now with the skill that you want to work on most, the skill that you typically practice, and where do you want to go with it? How do you see yourself getting there? You might realize that there's a pretty big gap. Maybe there's not. But what kind of small steps do you think you can take towards that goal? How do you think that will help you? Now, I know this hasn't been the most specific lesson on this. I did want this to be a little bit more specific. And so I focus a lot of, I see a lot of people who want to learn languages, want to learn music, maybe cooking. Neither of these may be your cup of tea, but I know that there's a lot of research in learning languages and learning music, specifically, mostly those two, because those happen to be some of the most sought out skills that people tend to want to develop. And so I gave you a couple things that I've used and that I've seen a lot of other research on. For languages, Duolingo. This is a really quick, really easy language app that teaches you conversational language skills. What I mean by conversational language skills, to learn a language and to be proficient in a language, you don't need to learn every single word that's ever been created in that language. Most people typically use between 500 and 800 words of the language. So long as you can use those, and can use those well, conversational language. This is how I got an A in Spanish in college, is with this program right here. I highly recommend it. Completely free. You can use it and make flashcards with it and use it to ace your Spanish classes. And then I give you a little video that gives you some more helpful tips. For learning music, Musician is fantastic. I used to teach my piano and guitar students with Musician, with lots of success. It's a great starting point if you're looking at playing any of these instruments. They also have music notation tips and lessons. They go through things like the scale and letter names and all that. Some stuff that we don't typically use as much in chorus, but things that will really, really help. And of course, a fantastic video by one of my personal favorite musicians, Victor Wooten, one of the world's greatest bass players. And he's kind of talking about some of this stuff and about learning music as a skill. And then, cooking, I know a lot of people are interested in cooking, not necessarily here, but it's one that everybody does in some way, shape, or form. And so I wanted to give you a couple interesting apps. Yummly is a really good one that has literally any kind of recipe for anything. It scours the internet for all these great recipes. And then just a YouTube channel for Tasty 101, which is a beginning cooking methods class. If anybody wants to be a chef or wants to get into cooking, this is a great place to start. That's it for this Mindset Monday. after you are finished with this, chorus kids, if y'all want to work on your recording project, drama, run your lines. Thank you.